Hello, students. Welcome back to your history class. So, today we are doing chapter 7 Changing Cultural Traditions. And this is a quick revision of the, not a quick, this is a revision or a recap of the entire chapter that we have been doing uh, since a long time now. So, this chapter introduces, in this chapter, we study about Renaissance. Renaissance is a French word which means rebirth or revival. Renaissance is the revival of the ancient Greek, Roman classical cultures, and Renaissance is a cultural intellectual movement from 14th to 17th century. Renaissance period witnessed new trend in art, literature, philosophy, science, etc. What are the sources that help us, which point help us understand this phase, this part? Documents, printed books, paintings, sculptures, buildings, textiles, which are carefully preserved in the archives, art galleries, and museums in Europe and America. This timeline is there in your textbook. You can go back and have a look at it. And then, what is the background of Renaissance? So, basically, from 14th century to the end of 17th century, towns were growing in Europe, and Florence, Venice, and Rome, they became the centers of art and learning. Artists and writers were patronized by the rich and the aristocratic people. The invention of printing at that time made books and prints available everywhere, and a sense of history was also developed in Europe, and people started to contrast their modern world with the ancient world of the Greeks and Romans. Religion came to be seen as something which each individual should choose for themselves, so nothing should be imposed. The church earth-centric belief was completely overturned by the scientists, and the new geographical knowledge it overturned the Europe-centric view that the Mediterranean Sea was the center of the world. So there were two beliefs, earth-centric and Europe-centric, and both of them were overturned. From 19th century, historians use the term Renaissance, which means rebirth, to describe the cultural changes of this period. Then we learned about Jacob Burckhardt, okay, who was a historian and a Swiss scholar. He was a professor at the University of Basel in Switzerland. He was a student of the German historian Leopold von Ranke, and he wrote a book called The Civilization of Renaissance in Italy. In this particular book, he wrote the story of how a new humanist culture was flowing in the Italian towns. And this culture was characterized by a new belief that man, as an individual, was capable of making his own decisions and developing his own skills. He was born in contrast, he was modern in contrast to the medieval man whose thinking used to be controlled by the church. So he was in contrast to the medieval man at that time. Then we saw how the Italian cities were revived. So many towns were ruined after the fall of Roman Empire, and the ports in Italy revived after the expansion of trade with the Byzantine and the Islamic empires. So Italy found themselves as independent city states. Italians found themselves as an independent city states, and Florence, Venice, and Genoa were the cities. Florence and Venice were republics. Many other cities were court cities which were ruled by the princes. There were some cities were court cities which were ruled by the princes. But Florence and Venice, they were not ruled by the princes, they were republics. Rich merchants and bankers were actively participating in the government of the country, and now the idea of citizenship was developing. Uh, how were Venice and Genoa different from other parts of Europe? because there was no domination of clergy and feudal lords in Venice and Genoa. Okay, and Cardinal Gasparo Contarini, he wrote about the democratic government of his city-state in the Commonwealth and government of Venice. This is a passage that you can go back and read. Then there was universities and humanism. This new subject of humanism was now being taught in universities. So the earliest universities in Europe, which were set up in the Italian towns, and the universities of Padua and Bologna. Law, medicine, and theologies were the subjects that were taught. Lawyers and notaries were needed to write and interpret rules and written agreements. Law was a very popular subject. Educational program was not related to religion. So education and religion were treated separately. They understood that the two things should not intervene with each other. Then there was Francesco Petrarch, who was the father of humanism. Florence was his hometown. He stressed on the importance of studying ancient Greek and Roman works, and Petrarch was given the title of poet laureate in Rome. What were the features of humanism? The word humanism and humanities is derived from the Latin word humanitas, which means cultures. The word humanitas has been used by the Roman lawyer and essayist Cicero. Change in the educational program from religious teaching to non-religious teaching took place. Subjects of study changed from religious topics to human-related topics. And this new culture was labeled as humanism in 19th century. By early 15th century, the term humanist was used for masters who taught. The masters who taught grammar, rhetoric, poetry, history, and moral philosophies, these were the people who were called humanist. Humanist subjects began to be introduced in schools in Italy and in other European countries. Giovanni Pico della Mirandola, who was a humanist of Florence, he wrote on the importance of debate in on the dignity of man. Talking of Florence, it was a city which were known by its great citizens like Dante Alighieri, Giotto. Dante Alighieri was a layman who wrote on religious themes, and Giotto was an artist who painted life portraits. Renaissance man, this term came into being, which is a person with many interests and skills. So these people were scholars, they were diplomats, they were theologians, they were artists, all of these combined in one. Then humanists had a different view on history. The humanists thought that they were restoring the true civilization after centuries of darkness. They believed that a dark age or middle age started after the collapse of the Roman Empire. They assumed that the new age had begun in Europe from 14th century. Recently, historians have questioned this division. Periodization used by the humanists. This was the periodization that they used, that 5th to 14th century was called Middle Ages. 5th to 9th century was called the Dark Ages. 9th to 11th century was called Early Middle Ages, and 11th to 14th was called the Late Middle Ages. And after the 15th century came the Modern Age. This is how they divided the Middle Ages from 5th to 14th century. Now, Arab translators would carefully preserve, and they started to translate the work of Greek writers like Plato and Aristotle. And Plato became Aflatun, and Aristotle became Aristo in Arabic. So their works were now being transformed. They were being translated into Arabic so that the Arabs could also read and refer to it. And so, what did the Greeks do? The Greeks started to translate the Arabic word and Persian scholars into Greek. These were the works on natural science, mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and chemistry. All these works started to be translated into different languages so that it was accessible to more people. Ptolemy's Almagest, which is a work on astronomy, was written in Greek before 140 Common Era, and later it was translated into Arabic. It carries the Arabic definite article al, which brings out the Arabic connection. How do we know that it was done by an Arabic person? Because there's a language, there's an article al over there, which brings out its Arabic connection. Ibn Sina, he was an Arab physician and philosopher of Bukhara in Central Asia. He wrote the Avicenna, and Al-Razi, who wrote Ras, he's the author of the Medical Encyclopedia. Ibn Rushd, Averroes in Latin, he's an Arab philosopher of Spain. Then we spoke about the artists and realism. The artists were inspired by studying works of the past. The material remain of Roman culture was sought with excitement. Fragments of art were discovered in the ruins of ancient Rome. Italian sculptors wanted to continue the Roman tradition. Anatomy, geometry, physics, as well as there was a strong sense of what was beautiful, and this gave a new quality to the Italian art, which was now called realism and which continued till the 19th century. So these are a combination of the Renaissance leader or the Renaissance man with the place that they lived, what did they do, and what was their contribution. I want you to copy this in your notebooks. Dante Alighieri, he lived in France. He was from Florence. He was a writer and he wrote on the religious themes. Giotto was also from Florence. He was a painter and he painted lifelike portraits. Andreas Vesalius, he was from Belgium. He was a professor at the University of Padua, and his contributions is anatomy and physiology. Donatello is from Italy. He was a sculptor and he's made the sculpture called David. Leonardo da Vinci was a painter. He painted Mona Lisa and the Last Supper. Michelangelo from Italy, he was a painter, he was a sculptor, he's an architect. He painted the Sistine Chapel ceiling. The Pietà is the sculpture, and he's also painted he also was the architecture of the dome of the St. Peter's Church. Filippo Brunelleschi from Florence, he was an architect. He's architect the dome of Florence. Johannes Gutenberg is from Germany. He was an inventor. He invented the first printing press. Lorenzo Valla, he was a humanist writer on pleasure. Niccolo Machiavelli, he was from Italy. He was a diplomat and he wrote The Prince. Francisco Barbaro from Italy, he was also a diplomat and he wrote a pamphlet on acquisition of wealth. Cassandra Fidel was from Venetia. She was a woman scholar. And Isabel d'Este was also a woman ruler. So with this, I end the class today over here. We'll continue in the next class. Till then, children, stay home, stay safe, take care, keep learning. Thank you.